culture and the ecosystem is very different there. It's like, sorry. Nikita, are you taking over? We are live. Rohit, is Nikita there or I introduce? Just a moment.
Hello, everyone. Hi, ma'am. This is Nikita from Women Listed. So it's Wednesday once again, and today's Let's Talk session is with Ms. Neeraja Ganesh and Ms. Meeta Gutgutia on Learn the Art of Networking. Also, I would like to introduce these two beautiful ladies, starting with Ms. Neeraja Ganesh is a TEDx speaker and has been invited by prestigious forums like Lean-In, IEE, PMI, TIE, and NASSCOM across the globe. She heads the education initiatives at Aspire for Her, an organization with a vision to impact 1 million plus women and add $5 billion to India's GDP through increased participation of women in the workforce by 2025. Going on to Ms. Meeta Gutgutia, the founder of Women Listed, co-founder of Sipping Thoughts, and co-founder of Ferns and Petals. She created Women Listed with a single mission in mind, providing women professionals with a specialized platform that plans, helps, and makes it possible for women-owned business to grow and succeed. A little information about what exactly is Women Listed platform. It is a forum to list all women in profession or entrepreneurship. It's a platform where women from every spectrum can list themselves, learn, network, and grow to be financially independent. Women Listed gives a sufficient opportunity for female entrepreneurs to flourish by connecting them with thousands of clients via our platform. And that's why we have Ms. Neeraja Ganesha to grace this platform. Now I would like to hand over the session to Ms. Meeta ma'am to take it forward.
Thank you, Nikita. Thank you so much. So I just make it, I continue from here. So Neeraja, as we were talking yesterday, I tried connecting with you last year, and for some reason you were traveling or you were busy. And you had always been on my radar. I wrote it on my groups also, that this session, I knew that I had to do it only with you, because I watched, read, followed all about your content on women and networking. Networking is such a subject which I feel that nobody really addresses, or it's just been a brushstroke, as if it's not so important. And the way you professionally handled it, as it is one of the chapters of the business school. So that approach I really admired. That's why finally we are here to talk about it. So for me, it's like people say, like about networking, people say it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. That especially in Delhi, we see that it's a culture of, oh, I know this person, I know that person. And especially women, I personally feel that it's a tough task, A, for generally anybody, B, for women to go out and network. So how do you want to address this or start the conversation?
Sure. So thank you, Meeta. It's a pleasure and an honor to be on Sipping Thoughts. And a topic, which is one of my signature topics, you nailed it. I will not lose any opportunity to speak about networking, especially, when it's a women's platform. And I hope some men have also joined today. So let me start with, a very beautiful story that I heard recently, and then come to, why we usually struggle when we think of the term networking. And if we think of it in this way, how simplified it is. So it is called as a hunter and a farmer mindset. That's how the story goes. So what does a hunter do? As we all know, a hunter's eyes are only on the prey, and all he or she wants to do is catch the prey. So if you are a hunter mindset networker, then you land up wherever, conferences, meetups, social, I remember I had gone to my friend's father's, after the death, the 13th, 14th day, the ceremony that was happening. And her uncle, her father's younger brother, he was selling, his business even there, right? So that is how it was. So some people do that. And the hunter, I'm saying he or she, lands up and looks around. And the only thing that the person is focused on is giving away business cards, brochures, and talking about the services or products that their company offers. And in whatever duration the person is there at that event, probably manages to get 2 leads, 3 leads, or even close a business deal, not denying that, right? Because that's the hunter, extremely focused on the prey. Whereas there is a farmer mindset, also a networker, who goes to the same conference. It's not about business cards or brochures or services and products. It is about building relationships. So what does a farmer do? The farmer tills the land, sows the seeds, waters it, and then nurtures, the plants as they grow. That's what a farmer mindset networker does to connect with people. So I will meet Meeta. If we had not known of each other and I happen to meet you at somewhere, I, as a farmer, and that's my primary and only mindset that I hold to networking, am I only going to find out how I can help you in that conversation that I have with you. And maybe I can directly help you, or I know of someone else who could possibly help you. But that's the mentality that I go with. So instead of 10 people, I probably will meet 20, 30, 40 people at the conference with this mindset and a very genuine want to help. And I go back probably with 100 connections, not a single sale or a deal. But if you look at a longer term view, out of these 100, I may actually end up with 10 or 15 deals closed by the end of the year, whereas the hunter would have 3 and that's it. So that's how I want to introduce networking to people, with a simple definition that networking is all about giving. The minute we take away, the get from it. So how do I meet Meeta and ask her, can you give this? Will you introduce me? That's what worries us, right? But when I say, no, I'm going to meet Meeta only to get to know her, that comes very easily to us. We are social beings. So it just flips it and life becomes so much more easier when it comes to networking. So that's what I want to kind of say. Networking is all about giving. Now, I know people will ask me, when do we get? We'll come to that. But let's start for the next 20, 25 minutes. Keep the definition of networking as giving.
So you very beautifully said the hunter and the farmer. But the life for people is so busy and in so many compartments that when you want to go, that you have an agenda in mind. There's no harm in having an agenda. And I invest, and when I invest, I'll get the result. Maybe I'll get the result, and it's a long term. The motivation goes down. What do we tell ourselves that exactly that this is the reason? Okay, I understand that you gain relationships. Sometimes you get a great relationship, something you can get benefited by it. But it's like targeting something in the dark, targeting something in the air. That is what people, especially women, when they have too many commitments, too many engagements, then how does one get motivated?
Right. So, this is something that I usually end my talks on networking with, which I say is you cannot dig a well when you're thirsty, right? So the well has to be already dug. Somebody has dug it for you, or you dig it for yourselves. And then when you're thirsty is when you can quench your thirst, as much water as you want. Even networking is that. So the motivation for it should come from the fact that it's not going to give you results immediately. Nothing gives us results immediately, right? Even a lottery, someone who is winning a lottery, doesn't happen overnight. I'm sure there's a process the person followed. I don't know how many tickets the person bought or how many times went to KBC to see whether manages to get to the hot seat, right? So it is never a question of luck. It takes time. Everything takes time. And hence, when you are not looking at it from an aspect of, okay, I will get. When you're looking at an aspect of, I will give and let me help as many people as possible, And let me give you real stories to kind of prove the point that that's how I have. See, I had 25 years of a corporate experience. And then one fine day, I gave it all up. No job, didn't even know what I was going to do next. But I have built myself up in the last few years. How did that happen? I have to be very honest with you, Meeta. We have friends, we have family, we have our colleagues, everyone who remains connected with you. I'm not saying, and they are good friends. But references for your business from them will be far and few. You don't get too many, right? What you get are from these people who are unknown to you, but you kind of get to know them, you build your connections and relationships. They are the ones who refer you more, and that's how the business is built. So I will tell you the first thing, first thing is to get out of the comfort zone that we are in without knowing what is in it for us. Always, if you're going to ask what is in it for me, it's a very difficult, question to get the answer, because what you are wishing for is here. And what you probably get is here and say, let me not, right? But if you ask the question, what's the worst that can happen? It's another mantra of mine. I always say, what's the worst that can happen? So I'm going to leave my comfort zone. I'm going to go to that event. I don't even know whether, I'm going to enjoy that particular conference. But what's the worst? You're going to probably spend 300 rupees on that commute, and you're going to spend a few hours sitting over there and come back, right? That's the worst. But what it opens up for you are possibilities which are endless. So, when I was in the corporate, so I left in 2017. In 2016, I realized I was in a very kind of in the well, we say frog in the well kind of a person. Happy with the job, happy with the corporate settings. I would go for conferences that my company would send me to. And you will have the same people in those conferences, right? The same people you'll meet from other companies, technology, banking, which is what I was, and same crowd that you meet, same speakers you will hear, same gyan you get. So really you go there because your company has pushed you. Maybe the khana is good. That's it. But I went to a conference which was for women on a career break. I was not on a career break. I went on a Saturday in 2016 May. And my husband was like, why do you spend a Saturday in a conference? Which is not, because he used to keep asking, are you ever going to quit the job? And I said, I'm never going to quit the job. So why are you going to a conference for women on a career break? Something pushed me towards it. And when I went, there were different kinds of speakers, not the ones that you would usually see in those corporate conferences. And it just opened up my mind, very simple thoughts that were being, spoken. And I said, I never ever considered these in my life, because you are in the well. And suddenly it opened up and opportunities in terms of, I want to do something for women on a break. So I started looking at platforms where I could help, because I still had a job. And then when I did leave the job, that's where my first opportunity came to head the Jobs for Her Foundation, because through the 2016 to 2017, I was, actively networking over LinkedIn at conferences. I met people, I helped people. The giving was always there. Can you imagine Neha, when she started, Neha Bagaria, who started not-for-profit foundation, Jobs for Her Foundation, she didn't even advertise that job. She just came to me and she said, will you do it? Because now you have quit from the corporate. Will you take this on? And it was a paid job. I also, want to clarify that. Some people think that, okay, heading a not-for-profit foundation may be pro bono. No, it had a salary. It may not be a corporate salary, but it definitely had a good salary. I said, why me? Because I have no experience from, leading not-for-profits. What about me? She said, you have the right passion to make this work and you will figure it out. Okay. So I think the intrinsic motivation is not about, will I get something there, then and there? You have to keep at it. Sometimes it takes 2 months, sometimes it takes a year, but I will guarantee it that it will come back to you multifold, as long as the intention genuinely is to build a relationship and to help as much as possible. I think we all need to do it. Each of us today is in some position of privilege. I'm not saying you're better, I am better, some position of privilege. I think we all should definitely kind of, look at it as a way to give back, and eventually it will come back to us multifold. So when in that, time frame when I was quitting the corporate, I had connected with so many people on LinkedIn, very different kinds of people, because I found them very interesting. One was a storyteller, one was something else. And then in that 1 month after I had quit from, my last job, I was meeting people. I used to ping people on LinkedIn and say, can we catch up for a coffee? And I have to say, everyone acknowledged. And at that time, Neeraja Ganesh was not known at all. Today maybe the name resonates, but then nobody knew me. I was one other person sitting inside the office and working. And they all accepted my invite. They all met me for coffee, and everybody was happy to collaborate with me, because that's how I was looking at my next career. I didn't want to start something on my own. It was too scary. I didn't want to be in a corporate. So I said, can I collaborate with some people? And everyone kind of offered to. And from there, I have to tell you, one of these ladies put me onto a WhatsApp group of women entrepreneurs. And there was Saras, who had messaged on that WhatsApp group one day saying that for Women's Day, and this is exactly, I think now we're talking 5 years back, 2018. For Women's Day, she was running an event. And she had messaged that there is space in this venue to put up stalls. So women entrepreneurs, if you wish to come and put up stalls, put out your brochures, etc., you can come. So I got very curious. And I called her and I said, what is this? And she came and met me. And eventually, while we spoke about 100 things, she invited me to speak at that event. So that's how my speaking career started. That was the first. And I said, I still ask her, what made you, I had no speaking background. What made you invite me, to talk? And she said, no, something about you made me feel that, you're the right speaker for at that event. And through the rest of the conversation, I'll tell you how that relationship with Saras has actually, led me to many, many more opportunities. But yeah, keep it in mind for anything, not only networking. What's in it for me is not the question. What's the worst that can happen? If you're able to deal with it, 5 hours of or 2 hours of traffic in Bangalore, and then we reach the conference, it's okay. I think one day in a month, you can spend those 2 hours. You don't know what opportunities will come from there.
Absolutely. So rightly said. And, while listening to you, I realized that I developed relationship with few people, and those relationship got me maybe hundreds of people through and through and through. I don't know what I got or what I gave. I really have not kept the count, but yeah, I feel that I have a good portfolio of people who have enriched me with my knowledge, my connection, my like meeting them, good time spent together, and every time you come back enriched in whatever capacity.
Absolutely.
And I feel, Nirja, the one thing I see that when we meet people, we say, oh, let's meet over a coffee, or let's meet next time. Or any retreat I did, and we all said, let's meet next soon. Mostly we don't make an effort.
Right.
How do we cross that barrier? Or we start using a different terminology for that?
Right. So when I said right now, I'm sure people are asking, you're talking about giving, what do I give? I'm not saying give time and give money, or that's not the give, right? The give is very simple. And with that give is where you can actually do the follow-up and meet people again and again. So the giving can be as simple as making some introductions. All of us know so many people. For example, Meeta, I actually did it. I don't know if Nandini is here. When Nandini reached out to me saying, can we do this session today? I actually said, yeah, sure, of course I'll do. But how about, a session on law of attraction? Because I really want, women to, I have experienced it and I've really benefited. I don't know if Neeta is here today listening to this, but I introduced Neeta, right? It's very simple. I mean, how much time does it take to introduce someone? And the whole lot of people get benefited out of it. So that's the very simplest give that, you can do. Again, I'm talking about Saras, right? Let's call her company LM. In these last 5 years, of course, we've done many, many things together. But recently she called me and she said that they've got a project to actually upskill 100 women who may have lost their spouses, single women, and upskill them and eventually look at placing them in jobs. So she didn't know where to find these women, right? So she said, I'll get the project manager on this to call you. I said, sure. So I have last year for Aspire for Her run a project of a larger scale to look at 5,000 women, underprivileged girls and boys from colleges, upskilling them on digital skills, soft skills, make them employment ready, and look at placing them. It has not been an easy journey. Okay. So I just sat for half an hour with this person and told him how the project worked for us, the realities of this project. While it is very noble and we all want to contribute to this, but there are also some realities. And I just gave it to him. I said, for your project, be aware, these are all the challenges that you're going to have. So if you have to be successful in this, first figure out 1, 2, 3. Why did I have to do that? I spent half an hour with him. I'm not going to get anything out of it, right? But I felt this is my experience, which I shared with this person. If this person turns around the project, 100 women will get benefited. Doesn't matter if I get money or if I get paid, or that's not the point, right? So that's the give. So all of us have something available with us, which we can share with the others, and the rest of the world can make use of it. Now coming back to the follow-up, right? So when we do meet, how do we meet? You are going to meet a stranger. You will introduce yourselves, right? There is a way to introduce. It is called the elevator pitch, but don't get scared. The term may be scary. All it means is that you need to keep your introduction crisp, concise, can't go on and on and on, right? Because what do you want the other person to do with that introduction? The person should stay on with you for a while, want to listen to you for some more time, or say, hey, you sound very interesting, let's connect later. You want that to happen, right? An elevator pitch anytime, whether it is for a sale, whether it's an entrepreneur, whether it's for an interview, is not about getting the job or getting the deal. An elevator pitch is only to get you the second conversation. So keep that introduction of yours very savvy, and that helps you to practice. You have to really practice. You have to put out and practice it again, 30 to 45 seconds, where you introduce not as, oh, I have 20 years of experience in IT and all of that. Every other person has 20 years of experience in IT, right? Why should, Meeta listen to me? So you have to have some hook in their introduction, that curiosity factor, so that the other person wants to talk to you more. So that's how you introduce. But after that, it can't be you continuously talking. I always say that you've got to do the tango with the conversations. It is a lot of listening that you need to do. So if the person stays on with you for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 80-20 rule may 2 minutes you speak, 8 minutes you give the other person to speak. Why? Because I told you it is all about giving. Now, how do you know what I can give to Meeta? How do I know what I can give to Geeta Sethi? I won't know, right? Unless and until I'm listening. If I keep talking about me and, I did this and I'm invited to this and I gave a TEDx talk, etc., you'll never get to know what is it that the other person is aspiring for, has a challenge, or looking for help, right? So it is very important for you to listen more, for which the tip is that, throw open-ended questions, not like, okay, fine, have you watched Pathaan? Answer will be yes, no. The minute it becomes a no, you say, okay, now how do you go? The next question becomes even more difficult, right? But if you tweak it to, so, what do you do with the weekends? You catch movies or something like that. The person will say, I hate movies, or I like movies, or I really like movies and I'm looking forward to watch Pathaan or whatever else. The conversation can continue, okay? Or the person may say, I really was looking forward to watch, this movie over the weekend, but you know what, this real big project has come my way, and, or, I have to pitch this to the business investors, and I really don't know how to put this deck together. In that conversation just comes out, and you say, I made a pitch last week, or, last month, or, I have the right templates available, or I can get you the right templates available, which will make your pitch beautiful. Here is a help that you're able to offer. But you would not have known about it. You said, did you watch Pathaan? Yes, no. Correct? So the open-ended questions really make you understand what the other person is, after. And once you've gotten that, then you need to follow up. That is where, as Meeta was saying, we'll meet again. It's the follow-up. It could be a call, it could be an email, it could be a WhatsApp, it could be an in-person meeting, a Zoom meeting, or whatever, depending on the value that you think you can offer. You have to do that. Okay. And it will come naturally. Don't worry. If you're asking me, okay, I meet 10 people and I found 10 things that I need to help them with, and I have to follow up with all of them. What is there a calendar? There is no calendar. I'm not saying 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 10 weeks. There's nothing like that. And how do you remember? No, it's not that onerous. It is simple. But if that first connect was genuinely wanted to know about the person, I will bet you that you will remember the person when something of value comes. If I met someone, and I have met someone who is very environment friendly, very conscious of the environment. And so when she throws parties, she tries to use, environment friendly material, as disposable, jo bhi hai, the cups and things and all of that. She tries to be very environment friendly. And after meeting her, after many, many months, I was reading an article where there is a, venture somebody has started to, sell these environment-friendly products. I remembered her immediately. Now, you may not remember the name, but you have to find a way of, finding the person through your phone list or LinkedIn or however else, but that's your tip and trick you'd have to do. And then I just sent that link to her. She was so thrilled. After 10 months, even after 10 months, if you are able to remember this person and send a link which is of going to be used to her, you've done it. You kind of have established that relationship, right? So that's how the follow-up is. So it is important. I think the follow-up will automatically come and you will feel incentivized to do it when you see that you can further the conversation and further the help. So the same thing happened, I was doing a keynote at one of the colleges here, I think in the beginning of, or somewhere in the end of January, I think. So there were 2 keynotes and there were 6 women on the panel. So 8 of us, and then of course the college, the dean, etc. After the event, we had lunch and then we continued chatting and then we stayed for coffee also. And then one of the ladies, she told me that there is some event that is happening on the 14th of Feb. And she said, you all have to come for it. And we kind of committed to it. We've calendarized it. And she also called once in between to say, I hope it's there in your calendars. It's a Valentine's Day, but you need to, ensure that, you make for this event, etc. And what she's told us about the event is quite compelling, that we feel that we should be there. So even if all 10 of us don't go, I'm sure a few of us will go, right? So it's about that. It's about that connection that you establish and the realization that I can be of value to her, more than how can she be of value to me. That value will eventually come. And I will give you stories on how much of value I've derived through all of this also.
So absolutely. Now my question is, like, I have been in like my 3-4 profession, whatever I have been in, due to that and having your friends and family and work invitations, sometimes you feel overwhelmed. The reason for being overwhelmed now is too many events. How do I choose that which one should I go and which one I shouldn't go?
Right.
All of somewhere, because when you are managing a community or a media platform, most of the things are of your interest. And secondly, initial days, and it's still there, that when you have to go for an event, you feel very intimidated and overwhelmed and little scared that I need to update myself on this information, that information, latest news. So even if in whatever capacity you know of things, still this is always a very strong feeling and it pushes you backwards.
Right. It is scary. I won't deny it. It definitely is scary. And don't think it comes easily to me also, right? See, as women, I think our imposter syndrome that exists will always play it out. So we do get scared. But as I said, ask the question, what's the worst? The worst is that you're standing over there and you're not able to open your mouth, you can't, make a conversation, you're not able to contribute, you're probably not even able to understand the conversation which is happening, is the worst. Nobody's going to throw you out of that conference hall, right? Then you come back, you feel a bit ashamed, and that is the worst. It's okay. So that's where you have to leave your comfort zone. And what happens when you leave your comfort zone and go to an event, especially an event which is not your forte, which is not your domain of work? One, there is a lot of learning that you get from them. Instead of reading a 100-page book, what you get by sitting, like for example, here, if I write a book on networking, I will probably, make it a 100-page book. But we are doing a 1-hour conversation. In that, what you're going to grasp, even if you grasp one tip and start implementing it, it's going to change your life, right? So when you go to a conference, especially or a meetup, especially when it is of a very different domain than what you actually are, either in your workspace or, your interest space, the learning is immense, immense learning. I have to tell you that. So when you do this continuously, you have actually learned 10 different topics. You may not be deep in it, but at least at a level of conversation, you will be able to. So when you end up in the 11th event, somebody starts talking about it, you will be able to contribute. You don't have to worry about it. I will tell you, I went to this particular, I think it was a more of a workshop to bring the academia and the industry together to find out how do we bridge this gap, because we always keep saying today's youth is unemployable, right? But who is making them unemployable? Somebody has to tell the educational institutions what they should do so that this youth come out employed. And who is that somebody? The industry has to tell us. So there was this conference, not a conference, it was a workshop where all of us met together to put our thoughts together. And I went early there. And there was this person introducing, he was saying that he had just then left his job. So he didn't have a designation per se. That's also something we struggle, right? Neeraja Ganesh, director, Capgemini, was very happy till then. The minute I quit and I didn't have a designation, I said, how do I introduce myself? But today, when somebody asks me, what is your designation? I say, there's none. You can coin a designation that you wish. I am Neeraja Ganesh, right? So he was talking to me that he was getting into a startup world. He wants to start something. And somehow I just, took the topic of Shark Tank. I hope some of you watch Shark Tank. And I think the episode of Flatheads had just then aired. And there was so much, on the media about flatheads and how, now suddenly seeming to be doing better for him. So we got talking about it. Now, I'm not a real entrepreneur. I am not, someone who understands entrepreneurship end to end. And this is a man who's plunging into entrepreneurship. But still, we found something common to talk about because we watched that particular TV episode, right? Similarly, when you are at different meetups and conferences, you will be able to get some tips and tricks and use it in the, conversation. And another story that I must tell you, when I was in the corporate, I exactly knew what to do in a conference. Who will come, what to talk, what to expect as a response, you know it all. When I went to head the Jobs for Her Foundation, I started getting invites to very different kinds of meetups. And one of them, the first one was it was a women's entrepreneurship, an organization which had started up to look at women's entrepreneurship. And they were launching their incubator. Incubators are spaces where women entrepreneurs in general can apply, and they kind of get tutored, they get mentored, and eventually maybe somebody funds them and helps them build their product. So I was invited to attend this. I went there. I didn't know a single person because I've never been in that kind of a crowd. And towards the end, like always, I started introducing myself, giving people my business cards. I have to tell you, I felt people were very rude because I am a nobody there. There were venture capitalists. There were all these very, well-known public figures. Nobody took my card. If somebody took my card, they didn't even look at it. They just kind of pushed it in because you keep getting so many business cards. There was a particular lady, a senior venture capitalist. She just walked past me. I was holding my card, but she walked past me. I felt so depressed. I went back and I said, okay, what did I do today? But anyway, one has to deal with life and go ahead. So I continued. After a few weeks, I got invited by the same organization to a closed door roundtable meeting. I got invited because I was heading the Jobs for the Foundation, not because of who I am. They had to invite some people, so they invited me. It was a much smaller group, but those 2-3 people who did not even acknowledge me were there in that room that day. So we all sat together and there was a particular topic that we all had to discuss. We spoke. Each of us got an opportunity to speak, so I also kind of contributed to that discussion. And as I was packing my bag to leave, this lady who had not taken my card in the first meetup came to me and she offered me her card. So I took it and then I came back. As I came back and I looked at, my LinkedIn is forever open. So I hope all of you are on social media, especially LinkedIn, because it is definitely a networking platform and a professional networking platform. The first message on LinkedIn that I saw was from one of the very senior venture capitalists who was there in that room that day. Said, hey, Neeraja, I see that you're already connected on LinkedIn. So this is something that I do, and I would definitely like to give a tip is that when you meet people, you take their numbers, you take their email IDs, you please connect with them on social media. I know that Instagram is also, a good social media these days for the small businesses, etc. But LinkedIn for sure. I always do that. I always connect with them. Now, why do you think this person came back and looked at his LinkedIn and tried to look me up? There can be only 2 reasons, right? One is that what I spoke that day probably made sense. So he wanted to see who this woman was. Or he also follows the same philosophy of let me remain connected with people who I have met at an event. And he saw we were already connected. So I responded to him and I said, I'm really struggling with how to raise funds for our not-for-profit. And I would like to kind of get some tips from you. He invited me for a coffee. We sat down. And I had gone prepared with my 5 questions because he's such a senior person, you can't waste his time. So I had my 5 questions. I finished that. And then he was more, casually continued chatting with me and things like that. So people are not bad, don't get scared. But this is not the end of the story. After a few weeks, somebody had invited me to be a guest on a podcast. That was my first podcast. I didn't even know what a podcast was till then, till this friend of mine said, I'm doing a podcast. I want you to be a guest. So I went and, I blabbered on that podcast. So that was doing the rounds, I think. The founder of this entity, the women's entrepreneurship, I told you, right? She messaged me and said, I want to meet you for a coffee. I said, okay. And I went and met her for a coffee. And she said, Neeraja, will you be my co-founder? Because I heard this podcast and I feel that you're the right co-founder. So the moral of the story is, remember the first meetup I went to? Nobody wanted to look at me and really rude behavior I felt. And I was disappointed, depressed, I must say. But things will turn around as long as you know what value you bring to the table and ensure that you make yourselves visible with that value. That's a very important thing. I think branding is very, very important. And I know that, Sipping Thoughts has done many sessions on personal branding. I remember my friend Soundari also was there, I think once, Soundari Mukherjee. It is very important to make yourselves visible on various platforms or even during the meetups, etc. So, your USP has to show there, but things will come around, don't worry. The first 2 times, it will be very awkward. The third time, you will feel it's okay. You've gotten used to the awkwardness and over a period of time, you'll get over it.
Thank you, Neeraja. Now, there are so many communities suddenly for last 2-3 years. Maybe the need of networking or the power of digital marketing platforms, people can connect and create it. So how does one decide? Like I look at amazing women who are doing amazing communities, Leap Club, XYZ,
Right.
women who leads jobs for her, anything like Fiki, you talk about senior to, how does one choose as a professional or as an entrepreneur that this is the must and this is how I plan my calendar?
Right. Good question, Meeta. And there are plenty. So one of the things I will tell you is you don't have to be part of 10. Even if you're part of 1, it is good enough. Okay. And the reason I'm saying is, of course, if there is something very specific that you are after, then you will have to do a little more groundwork to say, okay, this platform offers me this and this platform does not offer me this. For example, when Jobs for Her started, it was a platform for women on a career break. That was their niche. Today, it kind of caters to all women, including senior women leaders, right? So if there are very specific need, then you have to go and look for a platform that kind of caters to that need. But if it is just that I want to be part of a few communities or networks and build the relationships and also enjoy and learn and kind of further my network, then I would say take as many as you can contribute to. Because just sitting in a network does not help. So to your question, when you started, Neeta, you said that who do you know is important, right? It is said that people who have a good network are at least 3 times more influential than others. And that 3 can become 10 also, depending on who you know. But just by becoming part of, say, Women Listed or Aspire for Her or Jobs for Her or any other community, She Mantra, Lead Club, if you're just sitting on that network, on that app, on that WhatsApp group, it doesn't do anything. You have to be able to contribute in some way, a meaningful discussion with some people, or doing a session or something. And for that, you need some time. So how much you're able to expend, we become part of only that many networks and communities. So recently somebody asked me, are you part of XYZ club? I said, no. And they were surprised. How come you're not part of that? I said, I cannot. My calendar does not allow me to do more than this. So I'm part of 3 or 4 communities and that's it. Because what happens is when you're part of those communities, like for example, She Mantra, and I know some She Mantrans are here, we have a calendar. We have 2 events for sure that happens in the month. And then beyond that, we have a choice of becoming part of other communities. So I have calendarized those 2 events I definitely attend. So if like this, I become part of 10 other communities, my calendar is only attending events, right? And if you don't show up, then that is not doing anything for you. So be very picky and choosy. If the number doesn't matter. Again, it doesn't matter whether you know 100 people or 1,000 people. But if you know 10 people also, but you build a beautiful relationship with them and you are giving, you will get back and you are able to kind of give time, that's good enough. That's good enough. So don't go by numbers, go by the quality of time that you are able to contribute and make a difference is what I would say.
So on average, Neeraja, how many hours or how many, like you said 2 events. We invest a lot of time in media scrolling, social media app, knowingly nobody will accept or deny, but
Right.
it's like our lives. How much time do you think is a healthy time looking at average? One should invest in networking or, like you said, 2 events.
So what I do when I get into a particular community, while those 2 events happen, but what happens in those events is that you are attending that event, you're learning. And if it's online events, it becomes even more difficult to actually, catch up with someone. At a physical event, for sure, you will have some tea break and all of that, and you can kind of catch up. What I do is that if I become part of a community, I ensure that I do a one-on-one with every person who is there in that community. And I will calendarize that. So maybe one-on-one every week or something like that, depending. So meeting someone or showing up at an event, I think it is up to the person, depending on what phase of life they are in and how much of, time that they can, dedicate. And that's why it's important for you to calendarize. For example, if you're not part of any community to start with, and you think that I want to attend events, decide even one event, it's okay. Google for it in the very beginning of the month to say, because there's enough and more happening. You Google for events in Bangalore, events in Delhi, or, women related events, you will have everything come up. You pick the event, you calendarize it. Come what may, you will show up at that event. Unless and until you block your calendar for something, the work doesn't get done. We all know that, right? For me, even going to a dentist will be in the calendar. Every small thing goes into a calendar so that I ensure that, it will happen. So I think there is no number there, but what I do, the number of groups that I am part of, I may not go through every message. I can't. It is not possible. If you have 300 members sitting in a WhatsApp group, and even if there are 100 messages in a day, it's impossible. But I have found a mechanism of kind of just scrolling through some. My eyes somehow hit upon the right message that I want to read and then contribute to a discussion. It happens over a period of time. I know it is overwhelming to start with, but over a period of time, you will know how to kind of manage that. But again, bottom line, depending on the phase of life that you are in, you kind of put that quantity of time that you wish to spend on this, which is attending an event, meeting with someone, could be even one event, and one catch up in a month is also okay. I told you, right? Today you have no need. You're just building the relationships. In a year's time, so that's what has happened to me. 2016, I was not even on LinkedIn. Today, LinkedIn keeps telling me I'm reaching the threshold. I will not be able to add any more people to my LinkedIn, and that threshold is 30,000, right? So gradually it will build up. And over that period of time, you will have found a way to, manage. But please calendarize it. Only then you will do it. Only then you will know how much of time you're able to spend. Don't start counting the money that is coming immediately. It will not come, but it will come eventually. It will, for sure.
Absolutely. Now we know that 4:45 we start taking questions. I still have points, but let me ask the questions first, because Nicole, you want to ask your question? Or you want me to ask the question? Rohit, see if you can unmute yourself. So Nicole is asking, how do you interrupt someone who is not expecting you and introduce yourself?
Interrupt, I'm assuming, is not when the person is in a conversation, right? But kind of is sitting over there or standing and there are 3 other people and you want to kind of also introduce yourselves. One of the tips that I always tell people is when you are in any kind, like Nicole, you're doing exactly the tip that I'm going to give you now. This is a very, very difficult screen for me to remember anybody because I don't see any faces here. But assume the videos were on and then Nicole had asked me this question. I will remember Nicole forever, correct? So that's what happens. The tip that I'm going to give you is that when you are at an event, of course, you ask a question organically. If you know that particular topic has triggered a question, you need to. But I also recommend that when you're showing up for an event, do a little bit of research. Research about the organization who's hosting it and research about the speakers. So that when you come to this event, you can actually stand up and say, Neeraja, I heard XYZ, your talk, or, I read what you had written. You could say good things about it, or you may have a different point of view. It's okay. I don't want you to flatter the speaker. You may have a very different point of view. It's okay. Bring that up. And then you put your question across. I will always remember this person because the person has taken the time to find out about me. In the crowd of 100, this one person I will always remember. So that's a tip for you. So what happens when you've done that? After that, when you want to really do a one-on-one with that speaker, in that crowd also, when you're trying to, kind of wave at her or him, she will remember you, she will come to you, or she will give you a card and say, let's, meet tomorrow because today is a busy day. And the other tip I tell you is when you are kind of wanting to talk in any conversation, whether it is a group, whether with the, a speaker, use storytelling as a tip, as a tool. And I've done a talk on storytelling also on Sipping Thoughts. When I say storytelling, you kind of, based on the context, like today you would have seen I've narrated many stories. The context is networking, right? So the conversation that is happening, if you're able to narrate a story about yourself or an incident that happened, and then you kind of take it to that particular context, the person will, kind of stay on and listen to you and want to, get to know more about you. So those are the 2 things that, I would want to say. Now, like in that other event when no one wanted to look at my face, if that's how the crowd is, then yeah, it is like that. Sometimes it will be like that, but be persistent. But if you really want to meet that person, be persistent. It will happen.
Absolutely. So I remember very, very recently, I had to go to an event which I was not prepared for because I was very, very busy. And they had amazing people there. And believe me, Neeraja, I just attended the event, spoke. I came back because I felt that if I am not in that zone, it was very difficult to crack a conversation.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Smita, you want to speak for yourself? It's always good to have you here.
Good to see people on video if they can come on video. I'm happy for people to come on video.
Smita, she's always there on the video. And if you want to switch on their videos, please do. Hi, Smita. You are not able to. I'm just
She's on mute, I think. Yeah.
Good evening.
Good
sorry.
evening, Smita.
Sorry, I did.
I
Yes, yes, Smita.
just have a question. It's such an amazing session, and one thing that I really loved, you said that, once you quit your job, there was no designation. So that's what I've been struggling with. I feel like when I say homemaker, it's like, no, I don't like this. But, I've taken the takeaway that, say, call you what you may. I am Yeah. So
Right.
one question I have is that, when you're in the system, it's much easier to, network and build your relations with the people who matter. But once you're out and you want to get back, say after a decade of, a break, so how easy or difficult is it? And what are the key points one should keep in mind to restart, connecting with people once again after the break?
It's not at all difficult because there are plenty of platforms available today, like Jobs for Her, which Meeta was speaking about, and Aspire for Her, which I'm currently, connected with. And there are many. So become part of these platforms. And there are communities which are for women on a career break. There are communities for women entrepreneurs. There are communities for, women in colleges and so on. I don't know, what kinds of, demographics we have here today. And that's it. You are part of the platform. You become part of the community. You are either on their Telegram group, you are on their email list. You will get invited to every event that is happening online, offline. Like this, you'll be attending, you'll be learning, and you will have opportunities to connect with people. And then eventually also these platforms will showcase jobs which are for women returnees because these platforms are meant for that. So no dearth. Today, there is no dearth of it. I must say that. And I'll also put this out that when I was in 2016, the reason I said I want to help women on a career break was I heard those painful stories from these women about how either they don't get interviews or if they get to an interview, the kinds of questions they are asked about the career break. It really wrenched my heart. And that's why I said, whatever I can do, I will do. And I kind of started using these platforms to mentor and do whatever I could. Today, 2023 and even 2022, as part of Aspire for Her, the number of companies that come and say, we only want to hire women on a career break. So as a joke, I tell people today, if you want a job, I think you have to take a sabbatical and only then you will get one. Okay, but that's the kind of space you are in. Yeah.
Thank you so much. That's very motivating.
Absolutely. So, Smita, we all know that you will shine and you shine. She is very, very regular with us. She hosts one of the shows also.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Smita.
I will see you on Aspire for Her soon. Right?
She's the one who will follow it up, Neeraja, as we were talking about.
Fantastic. I know it is important for you all to implement the actions, in even one. It's not that you have to do everything, even one, but you need to implement. Otherwise, the hour is just a waste. Yeah. Aspire for Her. Let me just put out that particular website. Yeah. But please go ahead and ask other questions that you may have.
Yeah. Sharanya Siddhar. Sorry if I am not pronouncing the name right. Sharanya. Yeah, hi. Rohit, you are not here today. Yeah, I've unmuted you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So at the outset, I want to really thank both Neeraja ma'am as well as you for this wonderful session. Had a lot of really nice takeaways. And Neeraja ma'am, I had the pleasure of working with you during my intern time at Aspire for Her about 2 years ago.
Well, phenomenal.
Yeah. So that being said, I think it's a wonderful initiative, Sipping Thoughts, and I'd love to be a part of it in some way or the other. So coming to my question, as a budding entrepreneur, so right now I'm doing the groundwork and the research for my entrepreneurial journey. So do you have any organizations that are based out of Bangalore where I can go and network and that I can be a part of? Because like you suggested, I tried Googling and finding a few networking events that are happening, but they're all very, they're not specific to what I'm looking for at all. They're all in the tech area and I'm not really into that. So would you suggest any organizations or events that are happening or communities that I can be a part of that are Bangalore based?
Of course, there are plenty in Bangalore, but what I think to give you the real focused answer, I may want to know a little bit about what you are after. So please feel free to connect with me. Or I don't know if you are already connected on LinkedIn and if you're on WhatsApp also, if you're part of Aspire for Her. So that I get to understand the very niche that you're after, and then I can suggest. But there's plenty. That's what I would leave everyone with. There's plenty. And yeah, if there's a very specific one, as I said, then we have to just kind of, figure that out, but it'll be there. Everything exists today. Today, I don't think anyone can make a reason and an excuse that I am not there because this doesn't exist.
Absolutely.
Everything is there. And like yesterday, I was talking to someone and she said, if it doesn't exist, that's an opportunity for you. Create it.
That's why I created Women Listed, Neeraja, because I felt
Thank you, Meeta. Really good. Really good.
yeah, women are stuck on smaller groups and they are not expanding beyond that. And so it's the reason. Yeah. So let me take Damini. Damini, you want to ask the question yourself?
Damini Singh asks, what is Damini's question?
So
If you have to give, I'm reading the question, 2 to 3 quick pointers to keep in mind as a part of one's elevator pitch. What would it be? Something that would help an introvert, especially break their ice into networking. So this is a topic by itself, and I'm sure Meeta will, host one soon on elevator pitch because very important. But I will tell you this, that don't make it a resume. Don't make it 10 years of experience, because today 10 years of experience and 50 years of age doesn't count. Okay, we heard Sharanya, who I think is way younger and she's thinking about entrepreneurship. So it really doesn't matter, right? So what is it the other person will, kind of hang on to? There are 2 ways of you pitching. One is you want to pitch to a particular person and you do have done the research and hence you know what that other person will be interested in. Bring an element of that in your pitch. If you're going into a crowd where you don't even know who's who, then what is that element? Your USP has to come out, okay? Not about, the number of years that you've been on this planet, but your USP towards it. For example, if I were to pitch myself in any kind of a thing, my being a networking specialist by default comes, whether I speak about it or don't speak about it, right? And then people will cling on and say, okay, what do you do as a networking specialist? I mean, how do you crack this? So there has to be that particular hook and curiosity factor that you add on to your elevator pitch, along with 3 or 4 other things that you will talk about, so that the other person actually says, I want to talk more. I want to understand this more. I will give you and I know we are reaching the close time, but quickly, I was talking about networking at an event. And as part of, that section where I say you need to have an elevator pitch, somebody asked me to give an elevator pitch. So I think I spoke about, at that point in time, I was, heading the Jobs for Her Foundation, a platform which helps bridge the gender gap that exists in our ecosystem today. Okay, and I left it at that. That's all I said. People showed up after the event saying, I was waiting for you to say something more. How are you bridging the gender gap? Okay, so leave that element of curiosity that people want to know more. And then you have their ears and hands and everything, available to you.
So rightly you said, that leave it something for people to be curious about it. Yeah. And in fact, I wanted to ask you about the elevator pitch too, but I knew that I have to keep it for the next session because it itself is a very elaborate topic.
Right.
And we love when we take our participant and they participate with this. So Nafisa's question is answered, that what are the communities one join if you are working for women empowerment? Mehta's questions. That is very nice. In fact, even people I've talked to, they say that on LinkedIn it's very scary. People feel that it's too professional. You have to be absolutely professionally correct, politically correct. So you want to ask your question?
Yes, Nafisa, go for it. I have not been able to read the question.
The question is, once connected, how do you keep the connection alive on LinkedIn? Sometimes you connect and forget about the person.
Right. So as I said, in 2016, I was not even on LinkedIn. Then I was thinking of changing my job and somebody said, you have to create a LinkedIn profile because that's how you kind of get to know about jobs and people get to know about you. I created a LinkedIn profile and I ensured that I only connect with people with whom I had worked in the past. Okay. Anybody who I had not worked with in the past, I would not bring them into my network. Now, how stupid that is. Today, I know it is the most stupid thing to do. And then after I went to this event where these speakers were speaking about things which I felt, why is it that I hadn't thought about this? I started following those speakers because I was too scared to connect. I said, let me follow them. And my LinkedIn feed became so beautiful from next day. Otherwise, you have only those boring stuff that was coming from the people that you knew. Now, suddenly, more interesting things are coming up on LinkedIn because of all these new people that you're following. Either they're speaking something, they're saying something, they're reposting, resharing. And then I took the courage and started connecting with people. And when you connect with people, don't make it a cold connect. Like if you're going to send me a request today, and I hope all of you send me a request today, please say, I attended your talk at Sipping Thoughts today, and I would like to remain connected. Then I know from where you're coming and why you are, wanting to connect with me. That way people will, accept your request. So for people who are struggling to find and how to connect, that's the tip. How do you remain connected is the same when you have met someone. So why do you go and send out a request to Neeraja or to Meeta or to Nikita? Because you found something interesting about that person, right? So then at some frequency, you may want to share something which you feel this person will be interested in. I have so many people who continuously send me links to where speaking opportunities are there, where women are getting awarded. These are people who just connected with me on LinkedIn. I have never met them, never spoken to them. But they probably believe that I should be showing up at those events and speaking, or maybe I'm a candidate for those awards, or maybe I can pass on this information to my community because there are so many deserving women. They just keep sending me this information. So, and then you can start a conversation. Don't get scared. Yesterday, somebody messaged me saying that tomorrow I have an interview with this and it's a top class company. Will you please spend 20 minutes with me doing a mock interview?
Wow.
That's also okay. It's perfectly all right. I didn't have the time. I told her at Aspire for Her, we have so many more mentors. Can you please quickly send a note over there and they'll find someone who is available for the 20 minutes. But I have taken out time in the past for many people and done mocks. So don't get scared. Ask what is the worst that can happen.
That's so fantastic. Yeah. LinkedIn, in fact, many people find it a challenge because you see very, very big, highly achieved people there. Instagram is very passive. You just kind of consume the content. Yeah, so the session is about to end. And Neeraja, I remembered from yesterday conversation when you said that just put numbers to these many connections I have to make in the week or the month. So can you just a moment, the last question, do we want to take it? Mona, you want to ask this yourself?
Yeah, fear of social media. So it is a necessary evil. Let me start that way, right? It is a necessary evil today. So when I started, I was not writing a single thing on social media. I was quietly watching. As I told you, first I didn't even connect with strangers. Then I started connecting, first following, then I started connecting with people. And then the feed started becoming interesting. When I found something nice, I just clicked on it with the idea that when I like, the 100 other people who are connected to me can see this and maybe it will be of use to them. That's how I started. So you're just sitting quietly. So you start like that, your fear will slowly go away. But I have to tell you that if you have to exist in this world, you have to exist on that social media. The elevator pitch we talk about, right? Where is the elevator today? We are not getting into too many elevators and meeting CEOs. The elevator is the social. It is the online world. People, even companies, if your CV goes, they were first going to Google your name and to see what have you done, what comes up there. So get rid of that fear, slowly start putting out, you may not be building your own content, start sharing what you have read. That is not scary. You are, for example, and I'm not saying to promote this session, but I'm saying, for example, you liked this session. Just go and write one line. Today I attended a session on networking, it was good, it was bad, ugly, whatever you want to say, that's okay. And tag Meeta, me, and some of the people you met. It's a very simple thing that you can do, right? And from there, you start putting out your content because your thought leadership has to come out. Today, it's such a competitive world. Why will I go and talk to Mona and not to Geeta and not to Harsha? Because I need to know your thought leadership. And I will tell you, I probably will end it this way. My daughter, she's 21, but she's been quite active on LinkedIn since 18. Recently, she put out 3 posts. So in her college, she conducts a lot of training sessions. There is a particular group, it kind of, she's become part of that, which is to conduct training sessions for other students. So training sessions on LinkedIn, profile building, interview skills, etc., etc., etc. She put out 3 posts in the last 3 weeks, 3 posts about 3 sessions that she's conducted. Today, she's been invited by someone to conduct a LinkedIn session.
Wow.
Out of the blue on LinkedIn. So branding and networking go together, and you have to do it. And you will learn how to do it well. Don't worry. What is the worst that can happen? Nobody is going to throw you out of LinkedIn just because you wrote one post.
Thank you so much. That helps a lot. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Mona. Looking forward to connect. Hopefully you'll send me a request.
I will for sure.
Thanks.
So on that note, we want to end the session. Neeraja, any last word you want to share with the closing words to the?
Yeah. So of course, I always close by saying, you cannot dig a well when you're thirsty. So when you are in need, you can't start. So please start today, whatever stage of life you are, start today. You may not have a need at all to build a connection, to ask for a job, to ask for funding. It's okay. Still calendarize and show up somewhere, meet some people, build that connection. And I will end with a story. I told you about Saras, who I met on a WhatsApp group. And then, she invited me to give a talk, right, at her event where I had no background of public speaking. That was 2018. In 2020, talk, right? That reference also came from Saras. So that's how you get that.
You got frozen, I think.
I'm not
yeah,
here.
Yeah. Now the last line was kind of.
So I was saying that, the TEDx talk that I gave last year, that reference also came from Saras. So that's how one gets, you give, and eventually when you get it in multitudes.
Absolutely. So on that note, I feel that I hope that there is some changes, as Neeraja said, that we are not promoting, but we see some action. And this is a very close-knit group where we keep on meeting regularly. So we will know, and we discuss offline also that what is the progress. So I know Smita is also there, and we will follow it up, hopefully. So thank you so much. Thank you, Neeraja. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And,
my pleasure, and looking forward to stay connected, and happy networking to one and all.
Happy networking. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye. Bye. Bye.